let's begin end of year 4 reporting and certification, special education. And so our target audience for today are those LEA, CIS, and SEDS data coordinators, more specifically the CIS data coordinator or the person who generally says, I'm the CALPADS data coordinator. We are working on training that's specific for SEDS and CELPAs. We did one last year, but we would really want the input from the CDE so they can handle the programmatic side of the training. This one will focus more on functionality and reporting requirements and the such. And so we always, for the last several years, have included objectives for our training. And for our developmenting of the training, it gives us a way to organize the content to make sure certain elements are there, right? And so with that, we want you to be able to identify the staff and data required for the end of year 4 submissions, know who input is required. We want you to be able to prepare the data collection, knowing the business rules, be able to perform the submission process through the API data transfer. And finally, all this is an effort to be able to approve your end of year 4 submission certified by the CELPA and the LEA at the end of the submission window, right? That's pretty standard for every reporting and certification training. And that's generally our goal as we help you throughout the year with CALPADS. However, we're really focusing on increasing local capacity and building skills. And we've had a lot of internal discussions of how to do that. And so what we've done in this training is we've tried to identify skill sets that will help you throughout the submission and what we can include in this training. And so we'll give you an example of some of these skills, such as critical thinking or possibly project management, and hopefully that they can be implemented in your submission and as a practice for your LEA. Ultimately, what you see here is coalition builder, data leadership, project management, and critical thinking. These skills are the ones that we know that are exhibited by successful LEAs throughout their submission window. And so we'll just talk about some of the things that you will see or that you will do in these skills, right? So you think about building a team or a coalition, you have to be able to identify who and to receive their support from your different people throughout the data ecosystem. So when you're talking about special education, the data isn't just in your SED system because your student has an entire profile. So the CIS and the SEDS data coordinator need to be on the same page, as well as possibly your teaching staff, the special education staff, because they may be the ones doing the data entry into the SEDS. And then, of course, your CELPA. Some CELPAs submit the data, but they all at least monitor and review to make sure that you're in compliance. So you have several different systems, as well as several different people throughout your data ecosystem that all need to be working together. Having a team and a coalition will be able to leverage your data assets, not just for reporting. The reporting is the back end, but ultimately you want to use your data to drive better decisions to better serve the kids. And then when you're building your coalition, you form alliances. And so if you're new in CALPADS, it's nice to have that CELPA contact or that contact at the COE with SEDS experience. Sometimes you're not the one who's submitting the data. It's good to have a relationship. You can call someone and say, this is my enrollment on this student. I'm getting an error. Can you update SACE or Cyrus? And they can do it quickly because you have that alliance, you have that relationship. And as you go forward with changes, it's important to have that team. Then we talk about data leadership. To be successful, you have to, regardless of your position, initiate and organize data education within your LEA. If that's just telling your staff where you can go to get CALPADS resources or showing them directly, this document does this document does that. The SIS data coordinator probably has the most experience in CALPADS in the organization. And it's better to share your wealth of knowledge and make it readily available to all those who have to interact with CALPADS. We talk about establishing a local network of stakeholders. Previously, we always emphasize your data stewards as far as reviewing reports. But as CALPADS grows, you want to have that network contribute on the front end. You want them to be submitting data, verifying data. You want the practice and implementation in your districts to be in line with the business rules as they are directed from the CDE. And that goes towards developing local procedures, specifically for CALPADS for reporting and collection. But ultimately, you always want to be in compliance. You always want to be doing what's in the best interest of the students. And then project management, right? That's a big one because we have deadlines and timelines. And for end of year 4, staff won't be available. People take vacations. Some staff aren't 12-month staff. And so you have to establish your own local timelines. It's very important that you understand when data is due in CALPADS, but your staff's availability, when can it be done? It's possible all your staff won't be available and that our recommended submission calendar doesn't serve your interest. You want to establish a calendar of availability and requirements, and you want to set your calendar for your LEA. You want to be as successful as possible, and you're going to have to spearhead that. And so that's why we put project management. Again, some of us aren't in a position that has authority within our organization because we have access and the knowledge. It's just something that you have to initiate on your own. And then most importantly, we really want to talk about critical thinking. There's always a lot of changes in CALPADS. We expect a big change how files are posted in the fall. And so to increase your local capacity, to make sure everyone is resilient to change, as well as accepting, we really want to promote critical thinking. And so we want to stop training in the future for this is what's needed, this is what you do, and more so, this is how you do it. These are the skills that you need to exhibit. When you think about fall 1, end of year, fall 2, you always have to review reports and what's the meaning of these reports and what resources do you need to identify discrepancies or verify your aggregate counts. When you're troubleshooting errors, whether they be cert errors or submission errors, right? You have to be able to solve problems and use a consistent and true and tried methodology so that you don't always have to submit a service ticket, right? The information's there. You just need to know how to go about, right? And then if you take all the steps and it still doesn't make sense, you can submit a ticket. Maybe it's a known issue, but you should have a methodology of troubleshooting. And that goes again to critical thinking, right? Understanding what CALPADS is looking for, how the validation triggers, what documents do I need to verify this, right? And so you may have to go beyond the error list to the data guide, the CFS, the valid code combo, so on and so forth. And so I took a little bit of time on this slide just because it's new and this is the direction that we're headed in. And so as always, we'll start with the overview, just general concepts of end of year 4. Then we'll talk about some key fields in the submission. We'll review the certification process, including an error or 2 reports, and then we'll conclude everything with a wrap up. This approximately will take about 2 hours, and we'll take a break in the middle. So we'll try to get a break at the 1 hour mark.